So we were at this bar, and it was a hipster bar, and white people were standing around, and this hammered Mexican walked in. Do you remember this?
Yes.
So this hammered Mexican walked in. He goes to the bar, and of course, it's one of those bars that got like IPA, or would you like this Vermont cider, or how about this equivalent to a stout, but it was made in my basement or bathtub, or this was grown on a roof in Red Hook and fermented in my wife's vagina. And it's great. It's got a taste. It's a mixture of vagina stout mixed in Red Hood, Brooklyn. It had all those like homegrown beers. But he goes in and he orders a Corona. I was surprised they had Corona. He orders a Corona, and then he's like stammering, right? He's by himself, which obviously means he just left his buddies and he wasn't ready to. He's the one guy, and they drink hard. He was the one guy that was like, I need a nightcap. Well, the rest of them were just like, they all stumbled into something. Like, they're all like, none of them made it home. And he's not going to make it home, but he's the guy who's going to have one more. He's the guy who could potentially disappear. Where the other ones will just wake up on the street. He could just be gone. He could just disappear somewhere. He could just jump in the ocean because he thought it was his house. So he goes and he has one more. And he just starts standing around various groups of white people. Do you remember that? Yeah. He was just so like, there'd be white people like talking, and he would just go stand there. And they would just be talking and kind of just like notice him. And like, but didn't, they're like white polite. It's sort of like when you go on a train in New York and you can tell people who aren't from New York when there's like a really smelly bum on the train, they just stand there and pretend they don't want to be rude. Yeah. So they're just kind of trying to avoid the smell. Like the smell's coming and they just kept trying to move their face, but they don't want to be rude. Whereas if you have a real New Yorker who gets on the train, they're like, fucking hell no! This motherfucker stinks! The fuck out of here, man. Jesus Christ. With your stanky ass. And they just move cars. You see those people, the doors open, someone from New York gets on there. This fucking piece of shit stinks like shit. And they just move, and then you just see these white girls just standing there taking it. Don't be rude to the guy. I don't want to hurt his feelings. I'm going to sit in this shit smell because it'd be rude to not. It's one of those. They were like, nobody said anything to him because they didn't want to be rude to him. So they just stood there. And like, you could tell the girl, they would like glance at him for a second, waiting to say something. I wanted to say, he doesn't speak English. And if he did, he can't talk it right now. He doesn't know where he is, dog. He just wandered into a place that had alcohol, and he doesn't know what's going on. He's not trying to be part of your conversation. He's just standing. But then he would go to another group, and he would kind of just waddle around. And he did that for about an hour or 2 hours. Nobody said anything to him. And those groups that were talking stayed longer talking to each other because they didn't want to be rude and walk away from him. It was really fun to watch. Like, they stayed there because he was there, and they didn't want to leave him alone. So they just had to like keep talking. Like, so have you heard the new Arcade Fire? And they just had to think of another Arcade Fire song to talk about. And another one. They're like, how about Kings of Leon? I liked them so much better when they were just playing in the East Village and they weren't big. Once they went pop, it was like, ugh. Have you tried this new vegan pizza in Williamsburg? It's really great, actually. It's queso, but it's not queso. And they just stood there while he's sitting there going like, I want to lick us. In his mind, he's going, I fucking eat you. I want to eat you. I want to eat your asshole. Oh, give it to me. And so then finally he stumbles out. And I was like, were you with me? I was like, I got to go see where this guy goes. So I left behind him. Were you there?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, so we went out. We followed him because we got to see what happens to this guy because he's barely standing. Somehow he found the door. I think he tried to push a woman because he thought it was the door first. He went to a woman. He was like trying to open her, right? And, of course, she just stood there. Don't want to be rude. I think he took her tit and he was going like this. Finally, he found the door. He walks out. We follow him out. And I wanted to see what happens. Like a pinball, he falls into the gates of stores, like closed gates of stores, like bang. And then he waddles back and then bang, because he can't stand until finally, like a fucking pinball or a game of pool, he bangs off a store gate right into a pile of garbage bags.
You know how much Mexicans struggle with gates.
Yeah. He goes like this. Ping, ping, like a ping ball into the bags of garbage bags and fucking disappeared in them. We started looking for him in there. He was gone. which made me think it was like a portal to another drunk Mexican dimension where he showed up and there was more beers available.
That's just the definition of getting lost in your work.
Yeah, he just showed up and there was other Mexicans like, hey, welcome, you found it. And they just kept drinking fucking Modelo's. I mean, the guy disappeared, dog. He was like disappeared into the garbage bags. It was like a whole pile. He just went, and he's just gone. So something reminded me of that, and I don't remember where it started.